think you can take your seat, don't worry. This is a family meeting, so I feel very safe. Yeah.
To extend our heartfelt congratulations to Honorable Minister Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP, on his well-deserved appointment. This gathering, let us welcome Honorable Minister Okudzeto Ablakwa to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ramses Cleland. It will be in order to hear from Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Good morning, ambassadors, colleagues. I'd like to commend the Chief Director, Ambassador Ramses Cleland, for his very warm introductory remarks. This is a family gathering, and I would want all of us to consider it as such. We are gathered here this morning to embrace change, to embrace fresh perspectives, to embrace continuity, and also to celebrate our democracy. And as I do that, I would like to pay glowing tribute to all those who have come before me. I will be standing on the shoulders of these giants. And for those of you who have followed the steps I have taken since my announcement, I promptly called upon the very senior former foreign ministers who have sacrificed a great deal to carve the image and the reputation that this distinguished ministry has achieved over the decades. I've called on Ghana's longest serving foreign minister. I think you can take your seat, don't worry. This is a family meeting, so I feel very safe. Yeah. So I've called on our longest serving foreign minister, the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, who is a colossus, an icon, and his 89 years is doing well. I know a lot of you who would like to know how he's faring. I can confirm to you that he's doing very well. He says he will celebrate his 90th in his hometown in Likpe. So some of you may be fortunate to join me travel to his hometown to celebrate his 90th. I have also called on Professor Kwame Ahoy, who took over from him, I've called on Ambassador James Victor Beho, who took over from Professor Pamela Hoy. I have also called on Ambassador D.K. Osei, one of our celebrated diplomats who served as secretary to President Kufuor. I have called on the Honorable Dr. Ibn Chambers, and I have my requests pending for the much younger ones. I know they have been busy with international assignments, so I'll definitely have engagements with them before I settle in. And I have done that as a sign of respect, as a sign of reverence for the contributions that our ministers have made. And I think that it is to our collective credit that in recent years, the foreign ministers who have served our country have been acknowledged by international organizations. It is really to our collective pride that the immediate past foreign minister, the Honorable Shelley Ayoko-Boche, is now the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. If you had not served her diligently and given her the support that she deserves, she would not have attained that height. And you recall that when she was campaigning across the political divide, including my good self, we put out statements publicly to support her candidature. The current president, speaking at the Chatham House event, supported President Akufo-Addo and declared the support of the opposition at the time for her candidature. Because we know that when it comes to these matters, it's Ghana first. It is not about the partisan, if you like, divide, because we all cannot belong to the same political ideology. Then we've had the Honorable Hannah Tete also doing very, very well. I have lost count with the number of appointments she's received since she left the foreign ministry. And all of that, I don't need to talk about Ambassador Beho. I don't need to talk about the Honorable Ibn Chambers, who remains very busy, an envoy for peace and stability, democracy in our region. All of this represents a certain gravitas that you have in this ministry. And that is why when we put forth candidates, those candidates receive the endorsement from our peers, not only in the region, but beyond. So it is to your credit. And that tells me that we have tremendous talent here, and we have to be proud of what we have achieved. And it is fair to submit that we are continuing a tradition, which is an illustrious one, of course. I mean, we've had the first black president of the UN General Assembly, Ambassador Kwesi Nsaki. Many people thought at the time that it was not possible, because that was the time of great contestation with mighty powers flexing muscles and all of that. But we have always punched above our weight. Ambassador Kwesi Nsaki set the pace, and so it was not surprising that a Ghanaian became the first black Secretary General of the United Nations, the late Kofi Annan, who we will always remember fondly, and may his soul rest in perfect peace. So we've had a very illustrious tradition of representing our country at the highest level. And we do that with grace, we do that with excellence, we do that with a certain patriotism which is infectious. And that is the tradition that I appeal to you, my dear colleagues, that we continue. under this new dispensation, we will draw on the talents that we have, and we will ask that excellence should remain our hallmark. We must also pursue the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. You have heard him outline that vision. He wants us to reset Ghana. He believes that we can do better. We can have institutions that meet the expectations of our people. He believes that once we put ourselves together with one purpose, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. As a country, despite our successes, you and I know that the dividend of democracy, what the literature calls the democratic dividend, has still not been felt by large sections of our society. And that is why at my vetting, I said that international relations, our diplomacy, must impact the people. And so we are going to reform our ministry. We are going to set up a delivery unit, and we are all going to have KPIs. My marching orders from His Excellency the President is that all of us must work to targets, including the minister. If you don't meet those targets, your job is on the line. And I need you to support me to meet those targets. So, as foreign service officials, particularly those who will be privileged to represent Ghana abroad, those KPIs must be met. We spend billions of cedis annually taking care of our foreign service officials. It is important that the democratic dividend is realized. How many investors are we bringing in? How are we industrializing? How are we ensuring that the MOUs, the agreements that we enter into, we are concretizing them on the ground and making sure they manifest in the lives of people? I will share a story with you. When I was appointed, when the announcement was made, a couple of people called me and said, "Oh, foreign ministry, you will soon be forgotten." I mean, as for foreign ministry, it's all about travels and conferences, and we really don't see what you people do on the ground, you know. And aren't you too young to be forgotten on the political landscape? We thought you would have lobbied for, you know, another ministry that will make you more visible on the ground. Then I reflected and said, it's clearly a perception which we need to work on, because a lot of work that the other ministries do, we facilitate. We make sure that all of those donor assistance, all of that aid, we facilitate. And we must make sure that the people recognize that diplomacy is not some highfalutin concept which is abstract, which does not put food on the table of the ordinary Kofi or Amma. So that is what we must demystify. I will want us to demystify our work. When they realize that there are KPIs, that we are all working to clear targets, that we want an impact to be felt by the people. That perception that, oh, as for you people, we even think we can live without you people. You can enjoy your conferences and your cocktails and your summits, but we want to go and focus on those who really, you know, are bringing real development into our lives. It's clearly a misconception, and it's so unfair to all the sacrifices, all the hard work that we carry out. So we are going to be big on that, making sure that there are clear targets that we are meeting, and that in all we do, there ought to be the impact felt. And there are many, many examples. I mean, there are times that we sign agreements and we don't follow through to make sure they are ratified so that they are implemented on the ground. There are many countries that offer scholarships, for example. But how do we follow up to make sure that those scholarships are made available, are publicized, so that our young people can benefit? We all know the fiscal situation. We cannot continue to rely on Get Fund, the scholarship secretariat, But with all of these opportunities, why should we have a situation where you meet ambassadors at their national days and they tell you that, oh, we offered you people 200 scholarships. You didn't take advantage of it. It's lapsed, and it's unfortunate. Those are the things that create a perception that the ministry is removed from the everyday reality of the people, that there's a certain disconnect. We need to change that. I have also talked about economic diplomacy and how that concept must materialize. Because as a developing country, we all know that what must be done is to make sure that the people's economic welfare is pursued. Unemployment has worsened over the period. It's now around 14.7% from 8.6% in 2016, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. You know that we are putting in a lot of efforts to host the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, so that we can trade amongst ourselves, so we can industrialize and create jobs for our young people, so they'll stop dying, on the Mediterranean. But if we do not concretize economic diplomacy, and it just remains, an abstract concept, we are not going to address that. So, key matters that we'll be pursuing. We need to review our foreign policy, and if you have paid regard to the NDC manifesto, it is stated there that we'll be reviewing our foreign policy so that we make it more reflective of the modern demands. The 21st century requires that our foreign policy is tweaked a bit. We certainly are not going to depart from positive neutrality, from being non-aligned, and making sure that we are friends to all and enemies of none. But we need to make sure that we give it a modernized input so that it will be more relevant to the needs of the people. Then we are also going to put together a policy. I have noticed that we don't have a policy on economic diplomacy. Unfortunately, one of your colleagues has written extensively on that, and he was very kind to meet me a couple of weeks ago to share a copy of his very fascinating book. I couldn't drop it when he gave it to me. Really fascinating. And I'm sure that he will serve in the committee that will be reviewing our economic diplomacy, so that we can have a policy, a blueprint that will guide us. When we say economic diplomacy, what does it entail? What are the targets? So that some of the great slogans that we have come up with, slogans like Ghana Beyond Aid, which President Akufo-Addo was passionate about, all of those slogans, we can flesh it out under an economic diplomacy policy blueprint. So we'll be working on those matters. Then I've also informed the Chief Director that to hit the ground running, today we shall inaugurate 2 committees. The first committee will be on passport reforms. There's been a great deal of concern by the Ghanaian people that they want passports to be, in terms of the processing, in terms of the convenience, they would want that we work on that. We need to go full digitalization. We need to make it possible for courier services to submit passports to people. We shouldn't have a situation where thousands of passports remain uncollected. Cut down the inconvenience. If government has your biometrics, why is everybody still collecting biometrics? DVL, SNIT, NIA, health service, passport office, everybody is still collecting biometrics every day. Happens only in Ghana. It has to stop. We must integrate. And that is why I've spoken to the communications minister to help us with technical staff from his ministry and the NIA, so that we can integrate. If your biometrics are in the system, why should you have to always, if you want to renew your passport or get a passport, do your biometrics again? It's total waste of man hours. And then we also want the passport office to become a 24-hour passport office that operates around the clock. And we'll be piloting that as we look at moving all our missions to 24-hour working period. That, as you know, is the vision of President Mahama. He's big on having a 24-hour economy so that we can work around the clock and then create jobs. Potentially, we can triple current staff numbers if we roll out a 24-hour operation within the ministry. So that is one of the committees that we'll be setting up today. The second committee we shall set up is the Migration and Welfare of Ghanaians in the Diaspora Committee. You heard me say that the Foreign Ministry should help to address the unemployment crisis. But even more importantly, we have too many of our compatriots who are being exploited. Their dignity is violated violently, particularly in some regions. I don't want to mention because the media is here, but you know those regions. And it's all because it's not a regulated space. You have unscrupulous private agencies who take advantage of them. When they arrive in those destinations, they seize their passports, they collect more than 50% of their earnings, and they just exploit them and treat them shabbily, really. So that has to change. When you have a government-to-government agreement, and everybody knows that these workers from this country, Ghana, their government knows they are here. Their government is aware of their work. They will be treated with respect, with dignity, and it becomes a win-win situation. Look at what countries like Cuba, like Indonesia have achieved, taking advantage of migration policies and having partnerships with us. And you should look at the numbers. For example, Cuba, we pay them so much every year because of the doctors that they bring in. Why can't we also begin to get some good FDI from these arrangements? So that is a committee I'm passionate about, and I would want us to hit the ground running with those two committees. We'll be giving them a month's mandate to report so that we can immediately roll out the interventions that we all want to see. As I conclude, I would want to admonish all of you colleagues that your welfare will also be my utmost priority. You do know that as ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee for 8 years, I have advocated for your welfare. I have said that we should bring back the waiver on duties, particularly when you are returning from the posting. And I see you are still very, very passionate about that. I've already started engaging the finance minister, and I've made a point that they say they stopped this because there was abuse. That abuse did not come from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It didn't come from our head. After all, how many are we? How many of us go on postings? How many of us, return, every 4 years, really, So that abuse cannot. And this business of always, being a bit lazy, throwing the baby away with the bathwater, has to stop. So I'm going to fiercely, and you know me when I say fiercely, what I mean by that, I'll fiercely pursue that matter and make sure that very quickly, and fortunately, the president agrees with us that, it's the least we can do. Because we all know the sacrifices you make, particularly when you are in Ghana. We all know. So the little incentive that can be given to you should be given to you. So please be rest assured. We are also going to look at the vexed issue of rentals, how landlords harass our colleagues on posting, and sometimes you are hiding from them, you can't work freely and all of that. I think that it is time to do a phase 2 of the Societe Generale facility and make sure we acquire more properties. I have said that during our time, no property will be sold. We have to add on. We must add value. We must not diminish. So we will quickly address that. Because when you look at the economics, it makes more sense to own than be renting all over the place. And it's also about the image of our country. A country that has produced the U.S. Secretary General, Commonwealth Secretary Generals, and we have all of these top envoys celebrated, Sajiful's country, and then, some, tiny landlords will be harassing us and disturbing our peace, across various jurisdictions. We can't accept that. We will not accept that. So these will be priority matters. Because I know that when you are motivated, when you feel valued and respected, you will still on motivation. Still on motivation. I am going to be very big on our candidatures. I don't think that what we have done for the international community, what we have done for peace and stability in the world, since 1960, when we deployed the first peace operation mission in the Congo, and having always been a top 10 troops contributor, we have not, to be fair, taken our rightful place in the various international organizations. We have not. And it's because we haven't been very aggressive. I am surprised at the envoys I have received already, even before I was sworn in. Top envoys by their president, and some even demand to meet our president that we are going for AU summit. These are our candidates. We want your vote. And they are so aggressive about it. And they even tell us that, okay, if you have some, we can go into some horse trading, and then we are found wanting. When I checked, we have only 4 candidates really we have to push in this season. That's not good enough. So I want to encourage all of you, look out for spaces, for opportunities. We will back you, we will support you, we will raise campaign teams, we will find the resources to campaign for you. If other countries are doing it, we should be able to do it. When you go higher, you are serving our interest in international organizations. We benefit. You will be able to help recruit more Ghanaians in there. I recall 3 years ago, I went for a meeting in The Hague as ranking member. And there was a particular country, a Francophone country, and virtually everybody I met, they thought I had come from their country. I said, how come from the gate security protocol, and this is The Hague, we are not in Africa. We have so many Africans from one country. They said, oh, it just took a good brother to be at the top. And then we all came along. I said, oh, okay, so that's how it works. So if you don't push your people to get in there and be at the top, you will not, receive your fair share. So we have to be big on that. Then we create more jobs internationally for our people. We create space here as well for people to come in. And then most importantly, it helps our image. There's a lot of pride. And then you are also put in a very strategic position. When decisions are being made, when geopolitical considerations are going on, your country rep is there, is in the cabinet, is sitting at a high office. So please, enough of all of us. For us, we only receive top envoys, we are only backing others, then we are caught in their proxy wars, they have raised counter candidates and all of that. No. We are going to really revive the candidature bureau, give them all the support that they need. We can also send strong delegations to go meet presidents, and it shouldn't be only when probably the minister wants a certain position that you see a certain high level, commitment. No, at all levels and every position, please, let's go for it. Let's establish our footprints in all of these international organizations. And we have, that credibility. I was even sad recently doing my own independent assessment of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. And I was appalled at the number of Ghanaians working there. Very few. Very, very few. Meanwhile, we are hosted. We are hosted. So we are going to be big on candidatures. We will rally behind the flag. We will support our own to take their rightful places in all of these organizations. So the ship has taken off. We are going to hit the ground running. And I'm also big on dynamism, on integrity. Once you show results, we are not going to be bothered where you come from, your background, how you vote, and those things don't matter to me. Once you deliver, you bring results. And when I go and meet the president, he gives me a pat on the back that, oh, your colleagues are doing well, you people are bringing us wins, you are making our country proud. That's all I want to hear. And that must be our focus. So let me commend all of you, and let me especially also thank our colleagues internationally. I'm told that our colleagues in the nations abroad have also connected virtually. I know that we have been unfair to some of you in time zones that require you waking up on holy hours to participate in today's gathering. Please forgive us because of the schedules. We have an 11 a.m. with the president, so we thought that we do this very early in the day. So please forgive us. But we cherish all of you. We really appreciate what you do for us in those cold, cold places where you struggle to find fufu and banku and wache, I know some of you, even for a 3-day trip, you must take your shito and your gari along. So we cherish all your sacrifices, and we're looking forward to meeting with you soon. Soon we'll be tomorrow we'll be going to the AU summit, and I'm sure our colleagues in Ethiopia will get to sit down and interact with them. So I thank you very, very much. God bless you all, and God bless the Foreign Ministry, and God bless Ghana. Thank you.